Foundation of OU. Ma'am is a director of EMRC and ma'am is holding a number of publications and seminars proceedings in credit. With your permission, ma'am, shall we start?
Basically, I was looking at a model to evolve for the higher education system. Of course, the whole document, if you read 66-page document, thoroughly if you read line by line, word by word, I think we understand the spirit behind this particular document, NEP 2020, our National Education Policy. But when you look into the draft policy document, which is on 483 pages, our department made an attempt to print it and conduct across the state, widely during 1920 period, huge debates and discourses, and to suggest some of the opinions from these all happenings and discourses and debates, we have sent to MHRD all these things. So that is the prominence of this book. I would say it is not irrelevant. Even today you can read this text. It is available in the MHRD website, 483-page document, which covers in detail about every word that is given, sentence that is given in the 66-page document, which is the final document of the NEP 2020. This is the document. I think most of you must have read this document and have seen this document, which is only 66-page document, which speaks, as I told you, it's a treasure I would call, all the insights from all the ancient times, which is loaded in this particular text of 66 pages. All of you know, part 1 speaks about the school education, which we are not going to touch. Second part speaks about the higher education, which covers about 10 dimensions under that. I would just place before you because we may not have time to enter into all the details. Depending upon the time and qualifications, I will show you the details. Otherwise, I just gave a bird's eye view on all these areas which speaks about the higher education. Then part 3 speaks about other key areas of focus. Part 4 making how it happens. So they have given us a direction as to how to make it implementable and what are the possibilities to implement. However, with my own understanding of this 30 years of teaching experience, I tried my level best to visualize a system for us, keeping at the background our own ancient models of Gurukul system. Before entering into the main discourse, let me share one or two anecdotes related to the significance of our own ancient times knowledge. Or I would share in this context, the Ministry of Education is hardly striving to get back and explicate the old ancient knowledge systems that were prevalent and that were dormant and we were not able to catch up with what has happened in the past. So that I guess as a cell which is initiated by the Ministry of Education, widely working, many institutions in the recent past, 14 institutions have got the cells, these are called Indian knowledge system cells. They are day and night striving hard to explicate the whole Indian knowledge system, which was dormant, which is dormant, and wanted to enlighten people about the knowledge systems that were prevalent in ancient times. So this whole germinal knowledge is available and placed as a capsule system in this document of NEP 2020. That's how I look at this document. So many people who work strive hard, including the chairman, on this document. Day and night, I believe last 4 or 5 years, they have been struggling to give a shape to this document. First draft, 19 November, placed in the public domain. Then it came to the focus, and the document was debated and discussed across the nation for about a year and so. And then this has been culminated with more than 1 lakh suggestions received across the nation. And many people outside also, some NRIs must have reviewed and presented their suggestions on this. So based on that, this 66-page document has evolved as a policy document NEP 2020. So with this backdrop, and the areas I would just focus upon that, before that, let me share how our knowledge system, people are talking that there is a drift and shift from teacher-centric curriculum to child-centric curriculum or student-centric curriculum. It is not the new thing. would share this anecdote, you will understand how child-centric, how self-guided learning, how experiential learning was the backbone and culture of our ancient Indian system of education. One day, a teacher asked the students to go around the forest and find out some useless plants. When at the end of the duration that is given to the learners, all the learners came back and started sharing about their own experiences and shared some of the useless plants. There was one student who came without any plants in the hand. When the teacher asked other children, students, to share why they are useless, why they are useful, what they have shared,
Dr.K.Kamala. And next participant is Dr.K.Kamala, Assistant Professor in English, Government Degree College for University of Pata. And Dr. M.D. Sadiq Ahmed, please come on today. And Dr. P. Samata, Telangana University, and Dr. S. Harshakumar, Government Degree College, Kodupla, and Vijayalakshmi, Government Degree College, Hyderabad, Rupna Ravindran, GDC Chennai. Please come. What about the rest? Not only one speaker.
Thank you, sir. This is my first international conference presentation. Please cooperate, everyone. My presentation is Professor's evergreen role in higher education. First, we are all professors. We understand what type of higher education is going in our country, and then what type of tradition we have, and then what type of economy we sustain, and then what type of social system we are based on that, and then we are what type of political system, what type of women issues, and then what type of media mechanism in our higher education system, what type of officials and dynamic officials, what type of bureaucratic approach officials in higher education, what type of intellectuals in higher education, what type of role of global factors, what type of technology in higher education, what type of crisis today's like COVID-19. What type of knowledge society we have? What type of dynamic approach in higher education? It is including all professors' role in higher education. After that, professor, a ambassador of higher education. Why? Because every society have traditional society, every society have political management, every society have social system, every society have intellectual group, elite groups, every society include women issues, farmer issues, labor issues. Every society.
My paper is entitled Efficacy of a Customized English Language Website During and Post-COVID Times. Actually, during the lockdown period, I have created a Google site for my students to facilitate them in learning English language. So this paper is actually a quantitative study based on that particular customized English language learning website. So as we all know, we have this free resource Google site which we can easily create and deposit all the contents, all the learning resources on that particular website. We don't even have to know the HTML coding and all. So it is very much user friendly. Each and every teacher can create a customized learning website.
Just come down to looking below paper to madam. Please continue. I go there and see your presentation.
Sure. So each and every teacher can actually create a kind of customized website for their particular set of students. I'll just go to the next slide and explain. I have given the link of the website there in this particular site, and I want to explain what are the causes which led to the creation of this website and why I have created this website and how it is useful for the students, undergraduate students of Telangana, and when was it created. So actually the digital divide became very much evident during the lockdown period. We knew that the students who had access to technology, who had laptops, computers at home, they found it very easy to learn because they had all the resources with them. But in our government colleges, we know there are a lot of students who do not have computers at home, who do not even own a smartphone. So I was very much worried about those kinds of students who used to come to our college. So my intention was to create a website for them so that they can access it in their phone. Even if they don't have a phone, or even if they don't own a phone, they can at least learn with the help of the phones of their parents or any relatives. So that is actually the context in which I have created this particular website. It is a free site. We don't have to spend any money for the creation of website. So even a college with basic infrastructure can go ahead and develop a particular website. And it is a very excellent content management system. You can create as many pages as required. So I have actually made a soft copy of all the lessons that are available in the Osmania University English textbook. Every semester, each lesson, each grammar and vocabulary topic is uploaded into the website so that many of our students do not even own an English textbook. So the libraries were all closed during the lockdown period. Books were stacked in the library, so they didn't have access to the material to learn. So my intention was to bring the textbook to their home. They can access the textbook through their mobile phones. So that was the context in which I have created this website. So the main intention was to bridge the digital divide. in the society during the COVID period. So as a responsible teacher, I have to support my students. So I found this as an ideal way to support the students during the COVID lockdown period. All the authentic materials are provided by an experienced teacher to the students. So they don't have to search for materials here and there in Google and then study. So everything is there in the website. They just have to go to the website to the relevant page. So as I have said, this was created in 2020 during the lockdown period. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, these are the content available in the website. There are soft copies, PDFs of all lessons in the English textbook prescribed by Osmania University. Along with the lessons, I have also given navigation support documents. So the lessons are presented in a communicative way. So we follow communicative teaching methodology. So in every lesson, I have added pre-reading questions, pre-reading activities, while reading activities, and then post-reading activities and questions also. So along with the presentation of this lesson, I have also added navigation support document. So navigation support document has everything related to the topic that is presented. The students can go and browse the related. I'll show you the screenshot of that particular page so that it will be clear for you. Then there are video lectures of all the lessons. So many of the students were not able to attend the synchronous classes during those times. The attendance was very poor in the Zoom meetings and all. So I felt if the teacher gives a video lecture, the students can access the lesson at any point of time at their own convenience. I have also added many activities, stories, TED Talks, audiobooks, songs, everything is available in the website. And I have also added individual web pages to develop the LSRW skills. So there is a particular web page for listening, speaking, another page reading, and also.
A very good morning to my teachers, my co-delegates, and all those who are part of this conference. I am Dr. Samita, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Head of the Department. The recent pandemic times has made all the people, especially the people in the education sector, right from the policy makers to the students, reflect and think about the disruptions that caused and the enormous changes that were brought about in the teaching field. So as we entered this post-pandemic period, I felt there is a need to think about all possible pedagogical strategies that can equip the learner to face any kind of challenge and keep pace with the advancements in knowledge explosion and the world of digitalization. So I have titled my paper as Facilitating Learner Autonomy, a Post-Pandemic Pedagogical Strategy in Language. Well, learner autonomy is not a very new concept. We are all aware of it. In fact, our main thrust of our pedagogical processes is helping the the learner to have learner autonomy. As I mainly deal with the students of PG, MA English, my content or my syllabus is mainly with the literature, major chunks, major texts of the literature, and also English language teaching. So I took up this special title, thinking or reflecting on the practices of my class, that is MA English. One of the examples or one of the instances I would like to put forward. We have a text called Blue Horses Russian by Lucy Tapahanso. This is one of the topics in women's writing. And normally the trend of the present day students and teachers as well, we immediately browse through and whatever ready-made material is given, we take it and with the help of it we deal text in the classroom. And students are totally dependent on these websites. They don't even take up or sit back, reflect and interpret the text or interpret the answers and write on their own. It is just reproducing whatever they have found on these websites. And now this particular text, fortunately or unfortunately, we didn't have much material on the websites. So I started telling students that let us approach the text. Let us not lead the text. Let us analyze and let us reflect based on whatever material you can find on the browser. So they took 2 days time, and then we had a very, the class was so enterprising, and the class was so helpful to the students that we all sat in a circular manner, and students, to my surprise, came out with number of papers talking about the poet and the nation the poetess belonged to, and from the material that they got. Now this poetess is a Navajo. She belongs to Native America. So the material was very, very minimal that was available in the browser. But then students could get through all that material, and then we were able to analyze the text. And they were so inspired, and they said, "Madam, why don't we develop a blog?" And because this is our original inputs that we have got it, and why don't we put it up so that it can be helpful many of our juniors or many of the students around. So that was how they were motivated and inspired to put up something like that. So
purpose of giving learners autonomy, empowering students to learn on their own and then employing different ways available on the internet. Thank you, madam. And then next presenter is Dr. K.Kamala, Dr.K.Kamala subject. His topic of presentation will your topic, go ahead. Virtual mode of teaching for yoga students in government sector, a study. You have 10 minutes time.
My topic is virtual mode of teaching for UG students in government sector. Most of the government colleges, all of you know that we don't have the computer labs, we don't have the internet facilities, and in most of the colleges we don't have nearly classrooms even. So that with this, whether new education policy is implemented well or not, with these facilities, can we implement the new education policy? Just I made a survey with the students, and that I would like to present you with. In order to provide the quality education to the young people, to meet the global standards in terms of literature, culture, economics, politics, etc., India is introducing national education policy. We know very well about all those. As an Indian born, it is our primary duty to ignite the minds of the Indian students by following the new technology. Following this, and many educational institutions started conducting training sessions to the faculty, providing a co-op. Necessity is the mother of invention. The pandemic days taught us how to use technology and how it is accessed to the student community. The global universities and a few Indian institutions are promoting the online education and giving wide scope for the research and all. To promote technology, virtual teaching was also introduced and infrastructure was developed in the UG institutions to connect with the other institutions and faculty. But it needs changes in curriculum necessary to work on accuracy and accountability. However, to build a great and the strong nation, it is mandatory to follow new technology which brings quick and rapid change in India. Private organizations like Jio and other mobile companies trying to introduce new technology enabling to access in the hand. Banning to certain foreign apps encourage the Indian young minds to create new apps. Certain online educational portals like MOOCs, Swayam Prabha are promoting online courses but needs to develop on par with the global standards. The flood of online teaching portals like Baizu, Unacademy, Vedantu, Tutor.me, Check, Udemy, VAPKit, Magic Years, Khan Academy, etc. have come up in India and contributing their services. But the UG students studying in government sector are not aware of these portals. If some of the students know about this, they can't bear the fee structure they fixed. Several problems have been identified and these issues have to be solved in order to sustain the quality of education for future generations. Basic requirements to attend the online education like desktop, laptops, tablet, mobile phone, reliable internet, webcams, headphones, soundless atmosphere are lacked among the students of the rural area. A survey is taken up with the undergraduate students studying in government institutions. 148 students were prospectively surveyed and citing on different questions. The questionnaire was supplied to the students. Different types of students studying in urban and rural areas. For the question, do you have reliable internet access in your home? For this question, out of 148 students, 62 members responded that there is no internet facility in their area, in their homes itself. Not reliable is another answer they have to respond, and for this nearly 36 members have responded. And somewhat reliable is another answer for that question was answered by 34 students. And nearly 41% of the students were unable to get access internet at their areas. Moreover, these students can't bear the charges of getting internet connection. When inquired, every household has the disconnection, but they are reluctant to recharge the data in their cell phones to their children to attend the online classes. This is the major problem we have. And even the people who can bear charges also can't get connected with the internet because of unawareness. And for another question, and which was surveyed among the students of the undergraduate.
And since we don't have much time, I just come to paper presenters. The first one is skills data. You have only 2 minutes time only. Please, the topic is a study on undergraduation students, perception towards entrepreneurship education in Telangana.
Good morning to all. This is Shweta from College of I did research on undergraduate students' perception towards entrepreneurship education in Telangana. My study objectives are to know education institutions and teachers are reaching students towards entrepreneurship education and undergraduate education to get new ideas, innovations and confidence to become an entrepreneur, and to examine undergraduate education is helping to become an entrepreneur. There is a research gap that is between students' perception and education institutions and teachers' perception towards entrepreneurship education in India as well as in Telangana. My study is limited to only Telangana, and I collected data from across Telangana from 250 students of BBA, BA, BCom, BSc from 25 respondents, but only 200 students are responding to my question. My study.
Madam, just to summarize, don't take the help of your notes. Just summarize, conclude just whatever that you want to say.
Okay. So my study
very conclusion is that education institutions and teachers need to focus on educational and entrepreneurship education workshops and training programs and other workshops, and training is required in all subjects to the teachers from subject experts and industry experts in practical and real-time practices to solve problems or to get new ideas and innovations and to get confidence to become an entrepreneur.
Thank you. The education sector in Telangana and the impact of teaching resources in online teaching. Just summarize.
Study of the higher education sector in Telangana on the impact of teaching resources in online teaching. Objects of the study: to examine the benefits and drawback of online education, to detect Telangana higher education teaching resources shortages, to evaluate the efficiency of online teaching with the use of qualified teaching resources. Methodology: its first objective is to analyze the advantages and disadvantages of online education in the current context using secondary data from various sources. Its secondary objective is to identify the aggregate position of teaching resources in Telangana using data on professors, assistant professors and assistant professors and the corresponding vacancies in each of the 3 ranks and their respective positions. Size of the sample. For the purpose of testing the hypothesis of these articles, 100 academics in the higher education sector of Telangana in both urban and rural region are surveyed. Random cluster sampling is used to pick up the participant. I would like to conclusions. The residual values obtained from the testing the hypothesis in this paper allow us to conclude that teaching resources in the state of Telangana receiving a nominal training and transacting online education conclude not significantly impact the way digital platforms are used in education. Online education must stay smooth and need good teaching resources. Higher education cannot be a dynamic entity alone, thus more induction programs must be initiated to offer instructions, hands-on experience and assistance in setting up the necessary infrastructure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. So already the next session has started from live. So I just want to make a few remarks. That it is everybody's experience that we have, because of the pandemic, we have undergone all these, whatever the technology that was shared here, but ultimately we have come to a conclusion that the students must be given a freedom or autonomy or student-centered learning and teaching. So that is what the new education policy emphasizes on. I think you might have all heard to Professor Mulan Nandi, where she was emphasizing her own dream of implementation of new education policy, emphasizing on lots of technology and then community participation, and it should be with the help of technology, and it should also be a qualitative research and publications. And the emphasis of the new education policy is of again just erasing this present system of education that we have streams of like BA, BSc, BCom, where the student is given a lot of liberty, freedom to choose his own choice of combination of subjects. So generally we call it a basket system, where anybody can pick up any kind of subject and then make a combination of his own, and then he can also listen to the classes from maybe the same notes, same platforms, or maybe some other sources of institutional offerings of the courses. So with this, to gets into your media studies and your areas of research. So for giving this opportunity, I thank organizers and then thank you one and all for being here and then making this session a success. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, it gives me an immense pleasure to thank you to today's chairperson, Dr. B. Krishnaya Sir Garu, Assistant Professor, Department of English, School of Humanities, University of Hyderabad, who has taken time from his busy schedule to enlighten the occasion with his inspirational thoughts. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Now I request Dr. Sajida ma'am, Dr. Sunita ma'am and Dr. Sundarmurthy sir to felicitate the today's chairperson, B. Krishnaya Sir Garu.
Is now becoming more and more formal. And a lot of informal learning can now be considered formal or non-formal as well. Especially for today, after COVID-19, when schools want to continue education, both primary school, secondary school students, school actually have to offer classes online. Not only universities, but also primary and secondary school. So everyone is doing online learning. So when everyone is doing online learning, in the past, online learning might be most popular to lifelong learning, or to adult learning, or to non-formal learning. But online learning becomes a kind of formal learning as well. One effect of the popularity of online learning is that it actually poses a challenge to the graded education system. We divide the education system currently according to primary, secondary, and university. And we further divide them into lower primary, upper primary, lower secondary, upper secondary. And textbooks and study guides are written according to the grades, the grade level of the student, thinking that if they are primary one, they should meet easier textbooks, and for primary 6, it must be a bit more difficult. Likewise, for secondary 1, they should begin with something very straightforward and simple. When they go to primary 5, primary 6, especially sitting for university exam, they must study very difficult. But because of the increasing significance of interactive learning, self-directed learning, online learning, and project learning, when students are doing projects, they have to search materials online. And when they are looking for materials from online, they will come across literature, writings, or any kinds of material actually not written for them, for their level or for their grade. As a result, many children are reading materials of primary students can even they have an opportunity to come across university within the field. And second is the students are of course closer to university level, and they may also meet university or materials meant to be read by the university students. I want to share an experience here because I'm sitting on many judgment panel for
speakers, delegates or so and so. They made it they use certain terms. I observe those terms are not all relevant in the context of higher education. Why I am saying this, I know it will not harm for me. But adult students who are going to learn the research, higher process of education in terms of research, and they should not commit this type of a practice. That is why I am just saying. Education in simple terms is a base and means to apply virtue, the means of living or means of surviving, and help others to survive in the society for the common cause. That is education. This meaning can be applicable to any type of education. Medicine education, distance education, online education, whatever way education that can be applied. But there are different type of institutions use education and countries autonomy learning. What is autonomy learning? Learning itself is independent. There is no point of autonomy, joint learning, this and that. Learning is a learning, that's all. Reading means reading. There is no other type of this. Again, delegate is the multidisciplinary. What do you mean by multidisciplinary? It is a combination of class-based courses today is going to the universities and academic centers. We come across this department of multi-discipline in the case of Taksila, in Gurukulam days, Gurukulas, and the Gurukulas what they taught the students, they made to learn the knowledge, skills, at least not experience. Apart from this, they also made it how to get a livelihood by means of which are they doing. And also made it protecting the health of the people who suffer. You know, medical treatment is only by means of living on the first aid type meeting. They are also giving us a price, devotions at frequent intervals. This Gurukula is giving a student complete round of education, life of education, which is acquiring means to survive and help to others. That means it's not that is going to become more and more broader with the knowledge, good knowledge, and help to others problem to solve. That is a really multidisciplinary Gurukula Bhasa. And this, what I call is a discipline education, a kind of discipline. Education is always to be discipline. Discipline in the sense means whatever motive you have to do certain things, the things must actually the means of this education too. It should not deviate, this is not the way. Education is certain. అందుకోసం ఎడ్యుకేట్ కొత్త ఇచ్చాము అది తొమ్మిది తరగతి కాదు దాని కాలేజీ కాదు అథ్లెటిక్స్ కాలేజీ కాదు కస్టడీ కాదు ఇందులో ఉండే విజ్ఞానం తగ్గిపోదు అని అంటారు. ఆఫ్టర్ గివింగ్ దిస్ ఐ పుట్ దిస్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇస్ ఏ రియల్ అసెట్ ఆఫ్ ది హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్. ఇట్స్ ఎ రియల్ అసెట్. అండ్ ఫర్దర్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇస్ మోర్ దెన్ జస్ట్ ఎ బిజినెస్. బిజినెస్ అంటే మనం ఏమనుకుంటున్నామో ఖాతా లేకపోతే ఫోటో అనుకుంటున్నాం. అది కాదండి. The business is a manufacturing of products or services for large satisfaction of human beings.
Let me begin by thanking Kamala for this good invite. She is I always tell her a mega manager of events. She does a very great job of inviting a lot of people, bringing together. We had similar conference on education has been her area of interest. So let me come straight to the topic, and I would wish to
invite you to reflect with me on the ongoing debate in the country on new education policy. As young students, all of you should be keenly watching that there is a new education policy that is being implemented. Our former Vice Chancellor has now become the new chairman of the UGC, and he is going ahead with implementing this new education policy, and they want to change the face of higher education, the current regime, in the next 10-20 years. As part of that, he has announced already the new policy that now you will have only undergraduate. It's the American model of liberal arts for 4 years. There is no master's degree, there is no MPhil. From undergraduate you will straight go away into PhD, which will be very limited number of seats in PhD, with only few chosen, what they call meritorious, will be allowed for PhD. So this has a different context in the United States, but this is what the current regime is adopting in the Indian case. Broadly, what this would turn out is that large sections of society will not have education beyond undergraduate. BA will be the final degree for most of you, for most of the coming generation. That is a liberal arts. Within that undergraduate also, they are arguing, they are making some relevant point, but for some illegitimate kind of outcomes are possible, and it is in the interest, and Osmania University has been one of the universities at the forefront of resistance of various kinds. It has an active Dalit Bahujan politics. It was active during the Telangana movement. So I invite students of Osmania University to keenly debate that what is the outcome of this new education policy. Why is the current regime changing education in such a dramatic fashion? What was wrong with the previous model? What will be the outcome if you deny higher education to a large sections of society and reserve it only for a very tiny minority? There are 3 or 4 major points I will not have the time to get many details, but the way it is being imagined, the arguments that they are making and the outcomes of that will be very different. Broadly, I would call that this new education policy is projected as a new market-oriented, skill-oriented, practical education policy, but behind it is to reinforce existing social hierarchies along both, especially caste, but also caste, gender and religion. So this is a very neoconservative educational document in the Indian context. If you read the provisions of new education policy, they are arguing that you will have a 4-year undergraduate courses, where you will also be trained in vocational like carpentry, electricity. These are all basic skills, vocational. So they are giving you option to drop out from class 8 onwards. You have option to drop out. Class 8, class 10, class 12, degree first year, third year, fourth year. This exit option is what they are depicting as expansion of freedom. But imagine today you do not have jobs for those who are with PhD. What will a person who has dropped out of 8th standard, 12th standard, degree with certificate courses, where will he go or what will he do? And they are saying that dignity of labor, in the name of dignity of labor, they are saying they will teach students carpentry, electricity, they make them an electrician, and BHU Vice Chancellor recently taught his students to make cakes out of cow dung. They are investing in useless projects of projecting the scientificity of cow urine. So they are asking us to drink urine, and they are pouring milk over Shivalingas. So this is a neo-conservative regime that is going to, I think especially because Osmania University has more than 80% Dalit Bahujan students. Unfortunately, Dalit Bahujan politics has taken a wrong turn. They are involved in issues, non-issues. This is what they should be protesting against. What this new education policy will do in the next 30 years, if this regime continues the way it is to push back the Dalit Bahujans to their own caste occupations.
people who were doing earlier, who are aspiring to now higher education, will end up becoming carpenters, will end up becoming electricians, will end up becoming pottery makers, so on and so forth. So there is nothing wrong with physical labor. No, the confusion they are creating is this, that they are saying this is dignifying physical labor like it happens in United States, that where you have a sweeper has the equal amount of dignity as a university professor. So their claim is that we are creating that kind of a system, but in United States, of course, they have a racial problem, but labor is not divided according to caste. Indian context, we have a huge social gap between a tiny caste Hindu elite and a large number of Dalit, Bahujan, women, Muslims who do not have social and economic opportunities. This new economic policy is going to cut off the ladder to the higher education. Along with this, if they win, God forbid 2024, the first decision they are going to take is to abandon affirmative action reservation, caste-based reservations, and move it to economic criteria. Again, reservations by economic criteria would mean the poor among caste Hindus will undoubtedly become more eligible than those who have rural education in rural government schools, so on and so forth. If they were really interested, what they should have done is to invest in public education system, give quality public education, primary education in India. But that's not what the document is saying. So my first proposition would be that this is a system, this goes along with the larger worldview of the RSS, that social harmony in society can be maintained not through rights discourse. This is what Prime Minister Modi says, we are talking too much of rights, and rights discourse has destroyed India. There's too much of democracy. Therefore, peace, harmony is possible in society if social groups are reconciled to live within their means. It is the old Varna Dharma kind of an imagination, that each group should live within its means, it should think of opportunities and mobility within its limitations. Then RSS thinks that there will be no social conflict in this society. So if women are homebound, do not aspire to come out. If Muslims are within their localities, do not demand natural resources of the nation. If Dalits do their caste occupations, if OBCs do their caste occupations, RSS thinks there will be no social conflict.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Myself, Dr. S. Jansirani, Assistant Professor of Commerce from Government City College, Hyderabad. And my research paper for this seminar is Entrepreneurship Education, a Student Perspective. Because while I was preparing for this research paper, I have found many articles and research papers related to the entrepreneurship, but very few who were studying on the student's perspective. So to understand the student's perspective, I have not chosen somewhere or some other places I went. I have just taken the perspective of my own students who are in the BCom final and first and second years. And my sample was around 200 students where I have taken the perspective of the students, where I wanted to study. Mainly my three objectives of my research were like to examine the need of entrepreneurship education at graduate level, and also to understand what are the factors that will motivate the students to take up entrepreneurship, and what are the factors that will deterrate from taking the entrepreneur, both motivating as well as the deteriorships. And the next one was I want to understand what are the skills the students are expecting to gain entrepreneurship. So when I was doing this, a pre-scheduled questionnaire was given to the students, from whom I posed few questions in my research paper, which were like, do they are really willing to, because before going to these questions, I want to address one more thing. Yesterday, as Commissioner of College of Education said that entrepreneurship skills has to be inculcated among the students of graduate levels, and on this occasion, even he has started the entrepreneurship development cell in almost all the government colleges, where they are working on how to build the entrepreneurial skills among the students. So taking this as my work, So I posed few questions among the students at what stage they want to start as an entrepreneur. So I posed them few questions such as soon as they completed graduation or 1 to 5 years like this. So when I asked this, most of the students they wanted to start their entrepreneurship within a period of 1 to 5 years. Because it has been concluded by this that though they are completing their graduation, they cannot immediately jump into the entrepreneurship. They need to groom their skills and they have to get the qualifications and also knowledge how to sustain in the market. And like this, even I have asked them whether they require entrepreneur skills to be taught at graduate level. When it is asked, the 48 students, 48% they were like it has to be taught. Because and most of them they wanted to enter into an entrepreneurship, but because of lack of knowledge and funds, they are backing behind. And on this occasion, even I want to address that in our college, we conduct the idea pitch for the entrepreneurs, where we have got almost 25 teams, through which we have come to know that they have a very different and innovative ideas to start the entrepreneurship, but they do not have the financial planning, market analysis, and competitive skills how to sustain in the market. As we all know that we have a model of Nisset's model, where entrepreneurship to get success, they have to pass through 3 stages. The first stage is stimulating. Though they are getting stimulated either through media or through workshops or through the committees or the cells which have been arranged in the colleges, but they are unable to make it a practicality whatever the idea they are getting. Because in the last week only we have conducted program where we got different ideas, but they do not have the proper knowledge about the market analysis and competitiveness. And some ideas are like that, they already exist in the market. So these are the lacking behind. And this is what I have found in my research work.
India. The economic development is a very vast subject. Women entrepreneurs are contributing a little in this. So here, without water drops, there cannot be an ocean. So here, entrepreneurs, that is women entrepreneurs, they are contributing a little for the economic development of India. So here, entrepreneurship among women, it is a vital component of the overall solutions. It not only boosts the economy through job creation, but also delivers transformational social and personal outcomes for women. Today, India has 13.5 to 15.7 million women own entrepreneurship, representing 20% of all the entrepreneurs. Many women entrepreneurs are successful because they are trusted ones in the community. Despite several hurdles like family obligations and funding issues, etc., women successfully challenged the world and made their own destiny. The hidden talents and creativity of young women can be identified, trained with different skill enhancing programs and used for various types of industries to increase the productivity in the industrial sector. Now coming to the strategies for the development of entrepreneurship education, it is embedding entrepreneurship into education and training, curriculum development, teacher development and engagement with the private sectors, implementation of project-based learning, implementation of design-based learning system. These are going to be very helpful, and the significance of entrepreneurship education is the global economy is changing rapidly with tech transformations ruling every industry. With entrepreneurship education at school and colleges, it can prepare the students for the unmapped road what the present situation is. Learning about entrepreneurship encourages, it collaborates and encourages the teamwork. It fosters a mindset where students depend on one another for creative reasons instead of merely competing within the classrooms. Students are future entrepreneurs, and by giving them the tools, resources and expertise for learning about enterprise management, institutions can make a difference in the learning process. A key aspect of entrepreneurship education is about imparting problem-solving skills among the students. Beyond the world of jobs and business, these skills allow students to cope better with challenges in the regular life. Now, nourishing a culture of entrepreneurship spirit also helps students in creating and achieving realistic goals in the life. Young minds can be trained about long-term and short-term goal achievements. Now coming to the barriers, that is the challenges faced by the entrepreneurship education. First one is the cultural barriers, difficulties towards startups, and incomplete entrepreneurship education, lack of standard framework, and more dependence on the government. And finally, the impact of entrepreneurship education on economic development. It is going to grow the entrepreneurship among the youth, creation of job opportunities, innovation, impact on community development, the consequences of business failures they can face easily if they are given skill education, political and economic integration of outsiders, enhances the standard of living. Now coming to the conclusion, the promotion of entrepreneurship in countries increases self-employment in the economy. Entrepreneurship should be taught to students in all disciplines in the institution. It is not out of place to state that many business ideas emerge from non-business disciplines, but are often waved aside or ignored because students are not sufficiently educated in the knowledge and skills requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to call upon Mrs. S. Nirmala.
From the dais and off the dais. Students, my topic is choice-based credit system and it's a combined paper by Ms. M. Anusha and myself, S. Nirmala. I have chosen this topic as CBSES was introduced in the year 2015-16 to us, and it is very new, and it is understood that the system is going to stay for very long. But there is debate going on, as the previous speaker we got to know. Many speakers from yesterday has discussed vision, mission to introduce CBCS, and some speakers suggested that what all subjects as SCC and interdisciplinary courses can be introduced in future for the benefit of the student. So I felt we teachers should be clear with the concept of CBCS, who will interact students directly in the classroom, and we got to teach them and transfer the entire generation of students to the CBCS way directly. The methods, teaching methods, learning methods, evaluation, assessment methods, we should be very clear and we should transfer this to our students. So that is the reason I have chosen to make an overview on choice-based credit system. Choice-based credit system is an approach in which students can choose the courses of their choice, learn at their own pace, undertake additional courses, acquire more than the required credits, adopt an interdisciplinary approach to learning, and also it provides greater flexibility with multiple pathways and access, also vertical mobility.
Survival of a being. The providence of survival for a being, it is on a level before graduation. But after graduation or after in higher education that we are discussing now, what is its role? So in order to have responsible citizens, we have to give some competencies to our students, and for sustainable development we need a metrics and a measurement scale which can help judge the students. As the saying goes, a project cannot be managed till it is measured. The reason why I have taken this critical review for my study is, for my research study, I need to have a preliminary data collection for level of sustainability competencies in graduate students. But with comprehensive research procedures
among students. So with regard to that, my objective of this article is to review the related literature and research in order to study the concept of sustainability competencies, examine various definitions of sustainability competencies, study and compare various key sustainability competencies frameworks, to study the key sustainability competencies recommended by UNESCO, and to derive attributes for the key sustainability competencies. The literature review which I have gone through is for sustainability competencies. Some prominent experts have given competencies as a combination of knowledge with skill and attitude which enables individuals to act and behave with respect to the environment. Another activist person has said sustainability skills development is a process of mutual dissemination. Such processes of learning are based on society, ability and the probability of agency. More specifically, Week and his colleagues have given a clear definition of sustainability competencies that are complexes of knowledge, skills and attitude that enable successful task performance and problem solving concerning real world sustainability problems, challenges and opportunities. The other review is regarding key sustainability competencies framework. There have been many competencies framework given by affluent people. Here I am quoting some of them which are mostly cited by all. The first one is given by Week and his colleague. The assembling and describing of sustainability competencies are being discussed by affluent people. There have been various key sustainability competencies framework proposed by prominent people working on sustainability competencies. But the most cited work on key sustainability competencies framework was done by Week et al. For the purpose of preparing a framework for developing academic programs. The basic criteria for selection of key sustainability competencies in their framework is for preparing students for solving sustainability problems, making them foresee the future sustainability challenges and to be well prepared with strategies to handle. This proposed framework was a comprehensive that it is recommended by UNESCO. UNESCO has recommended this framework as for everyone. However, in the preliminary stages, this framework had only 5 competencies as key sustainability competencies. But later on, with discussion, it added 2 more, and now recently there is a discussion of adding 2 more. The competencies which are discussed under Week et al.'s key sustainability competencies framework are systems thinking competency, anticipatory competency, normative competency, collaborative competency, strategic thinking competency.
Now I am going to impact of COVID-19 and Human Education Policy 2020. COVID-19 is an infection diseases Wuhan, the town China. The affected diseases more than 5 billion people across the world, 1.6 billion students affected, 6.5 million teachers affected. Nature of Education Policy 2020, that's our National Education Policy. Now I am going to higher education. Higher education is exponentially improvement in promoting human society and contributing significant towards sustainable livelihood and economic development of the nation as India is moving towards became a knowledge economy and achieve the above set goal. Few major reforms of education NEP 2020. Review of literature due to COVID-19, the day-to-day life of human beings has been affected its all possible dimensions as health, social and mental, economy, services, etc. Completely the students to the students edit to the computers and phones, lot of time spent unimportant works and not useful for their future work. Some students there is no focus on their bright futures of the online classes. Some students have damaged their lifestyle, use of phone like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc. Disadvantages of the
Sir, Professor of UGC Emirates, thank you for chairing this session, sir. And I also thank Dr. Ajay sir, Assistant Professor, Center for Political Studies, JNU, who enlightened the session. Sir, we now know why JNU don't follow any attendance and why students wait for the classes before the time. Thank you, sir, for enlightening this session. And I also thank you to all other participants who witnessed this session. Now I request Dr. Narsimulu sir and Dr. Satyanarayana sir to felicitate today's chairperson C.R. Reddy sir.